Hello again everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take another look at the really awesome PMDG DC-6. We're in the Bravo variant, the passenger variant for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and you can see we've got a channel livery made up as well, which you guys can all download for free via our Discord server. Hopefully you guys are enjoying that. Today I just want to cover really basic navigation effectively with the PMDG DC-6. We're at Athens at the moment, and we're going to basically fly around the region ever so slightly, tracking some VORs, tracking some NDBs, and looking at the differences between the two of those. So, into the flight deck, and you guys will be able to see in the overhead panel here, I've got rid of the GPS unit, and we've got a couple of things tuned across the nav displays. First and foremost, we've got the Athens VOR 114.4 in nav 1 in use up here. Next we've got 382 as an NDB, which is the Aigina EGN NDB directly ahead. And in nav 2 we've got 115.0, which is the Kia VOR KEA. And we're also going to tune 117.5 as a standby on nav 2, which is to return ourselves back to the airfield. We could also tune in standby 405. Which is the Megara NDB. So we've got ADF1, ADF2, VOR1, so nav1 VOR, and we've got a standby VOR ready, and in nav2 we've got a VOR and a standby VOR all in use and available. Really good. So we've got loads to do. When we depart, we want to check out VOR1, which is the single needle, and VOR2, which is the double arrow. Double arrow is leading us off towards the KEA VOR of 115.0, and the single arrow is taking us to the Athens VOR ATV 114.4. So while you're here guys, make sure you hit like and subscribe down below. If you enjoyed today's video, let me know what you think in the comments below. And without further ado, let's get her airborne. Get that gear up. Love the animations on this thing. Awesome. So first things first, we don't worry about the accuracy of my flying, of course. Today I just want to show you guys how to use the VOR stuff. So we want to head about 270 degrees. what I've done is I've set the course. So as we turn this around, when we get in range of it, you'll see here that the OBS will actually start to navigate closer to suggest what heading we need to fly at in order to achieve that VOR. And it aligns with the needle there as well, that single needle, which is all good. The aircraft has actually got the capability of flying this using the gyro pilot, which is really fantastic. And in the bottom as well, you know, we've tuned in that Athens VOR 114.4, and we can see down in the bottom here how far away we are from that. 7.8 nautical miles. It's going to take 7 minutes. If we flick over to nav 2, which is the Kia VOR 115.0, you can see that's 29.3 nautical miles away in 64 minutes at our current speed to get there. If we flick that over to 382 on the ADF, you'll see now that we've woken up ADF 1, which is that single needle, and that's telling us a direction to the Aigina NDB. So let's focus on flying first to the Athens VOR 114.4 using VOR 1 at the bottom there. That double arrow is telling us to head left 130 degrees to the Kia VOR, which is correct, looking at our position on the maps. And I'm going to trim for a level flight here, I think, as we fly over Athens. Beautiful. One of the big focuses for me is learning how to control the aeroplane, but in bite-sized chunks. So rather than trying to do it all at once and learn everything all at the same time, I'm actually trying to learn each thing well, individually. And I'd recommend that's probably a really good way of you guys doing it as well, because I'm finding that I can break everything down a lot easier, and I'm learning as I go as well. So if I get an engine failure for whatever reason, then I can deal with that dynamically. You know, I'm winging it, making it up as I go along, however, really enjoying it. So we're passing that VOR. You can see that because the needle's now switching and moving. And we want to head towards the Aigina NDB. So now we are quite simply flying off to ADF 1 now. So we want to fly to align that needle with our aeroplane. You can see now the nav has shown that the arrow at the bottom showing that we're flying away from the VOR now on the OBS. And we're going to fly straight up to the Aigina VOR. Now I want to change ADF 2 to 405. We can click ADF 2, switch the frequency to 405, and you can see now that that is coming alive, and that's going to take us to the Megara NDB, which is slightly north of the Aigina one, over Megara Air Base, I think it is, or airfield. I'll put all the frequencies and a little screenshot of the routes that I'm making up for you guys into the video. Hopefully you guys are finding it really useful. And I'm literally hand flying now to that single arrow, that ADF 1, which is the EGN NDB of 382. So we know how to get to the Aigina VOR. That's just at the north tip of this little island here. We're flying directly towards that, and now we want to turn towards Megara 405. So we're going to do that, and we're going to turn to align that double arrow needle for ADF 2 to our aircraft heading. And that's going to fly us to the next NDB. Now I want to change nav 2 to the Athens VOR 1175. So up here, 1175, switch it over, and you can see now that the VOR 2 needles switched across as well. Now what about ILSs? Our ILSs are effectively localizers. And they have a frequency that we can track. Now the aeroplane can actually fly the ILS low and slow itself using the gyro pilot, which is a really cool feature, but I'm not going to touch on that too much. But say for example we want to land on runway 03. Uh, 03 right, ILS DME of 111.1. So up here, 111.1. Decimal 1. I want you guys to keep an eye on that VOR needle as well. There we go, and that's switched. So now we can actually fly the ILS. So we've covered very briefly tracking NDBs and tracking VORs. Now if I turn us back round to Athens, I'll show you guys how to use the OBS needle to fly your ILS approach.
Normal. Fuel booster pumps. On low. Fuel tank selectors. Mains on, crossfeed off. Hydraulic bypass valve. Down. No smoking signs. On. In-range checks complete.
So for missed approach we have to head to Kia and hold 115.5, and that's there ready in nav 2, but we could tune that here so it's in nav 1 as well, just in case that's the one that we catch our eye on better first. So you can see now I've descended below the glide slope somewhat. And the aeroplane's actually telling us that already. So we want to align that horizontal bar, as you can see it moving now, with the 4 horizontal lines in the centre, and that's telling us that we are on the glide slope. And similarly, we want to align this with the course, so we know the course is 032 degrees, it's around about there. Zero 032 is around about there. And we can work to fly the ILS. We can see the airport, but actually I want to use the instruments to help us. Use the artificial flight engineer for before landing checks.
Setting flaps 20.
There's that glide slope, so we can come down We can fly to that.
20 flaps set. Mixtures rich, please. Auto rich. Mixtures set. Gear up and down, please. Gear up and down.
So any second we should start to see the lateral guidance move. There we go.
Gear down and locked. 3 greens. Props. 2400 RPM.
You can see now we're slightly below the glide slope.
RPM set. Cow flaps. Plus 3 degrees. Cow flaps set. ADI. ADI off. ADI is off. Landing lights. Speed good. Extending lights. Lights extended and on. Carbine. Carbine cold. Set cold. Before landing checks complete.
That's all good. So we're flying the aeroplane, we're on the ILS approach now, we're slightly left and slightly below, but we can factor that in, and we can correct as we go. You can see here, I'm actually just watching the display more so than anything else. I've got it on live weather at the moment as well. There's a bit of a crosswind in Athens, which makes it interesting. And we're flying this low and slow. Got a bit of terrain there to avoid that we need to watch out for. And it's now advising that we're below the glide slope. It likes us to come in really low and slow, so the ILS in this is very different to sort of that 3-degree glide slope that you guys would want in your A320s. But if I go too low, I will hit that terrain. So you can see how the OBS needle has actually moved to show that we've lost that glide slope. So we have to do a little bit of work to try and get that back. But the lateral guidance is okay. Let's reduce the throttle, and that's going to increase our rate of descent a lot more. There comes the here comes the glide slope again. We're on the lateral guidance beautifully. We're just ever so slightly high, and we could in theory just fly, oops, we could in theory fly like so. We could just use the instruments to guide us to the runway towards that last minute when we get to that minimums. We can see the pappies now, so we don't really need to look at the instruments anymore, but you guys can see how that is working, of course, as I fly this short finals. There we go, touchdown. So there we go, really short video folks, showing you guys how to navigate using the PMDG DC-6, no GPS, tracking some VORs, tracking some NDBs, and then flying a ILS localizer style approach manually. I hope you've all found it really useful. I hope you're all loving the retro style livery for the DC-6 that I've drawn up, which you can download on our Discord server for free. Everybody can download it and enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to hit subscribe as well while you're here, and check out all of my other videos on the channel. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching.